Hey there, my name's Mark Wilson, and in this video I'm going to take a look at backing up Hyper-V using Windows Server Backup. Now for enterprise deployments, you might be better using a product such as System Center Data Protection Manager, but we can still back up Hyper-V using the tools built into Windows Server 2008, and that might be useful for isolated or small deployments where a System Center is not a viable option. Now, Windows Server 2008 includes a backup utility, Windows Server Backup, and that's what we're using here to back up our Hyper-V host. But if I just do a quick search for that on the Start menu and open it up, what we'll see is that it's not installed on the computer by default. So we need to go to Server Manager and add the Windows Server Backup feature. So if I open up Server Manager and navigate the features, select Add Features, and down near the bottom we should find a Windows Server Backup. And I'm going to install the Windows Server Backup and the command line tools because we'll use some of those later in this demonstration. You can go ahead and click the Install button. Now this doesn't take very long at all, but I have speeded it up slightly for the video. So just going through the normal install wizard here, verifying the installation, and in a moment it should complete. And there we have a successful installation of Windows Server Backup. Now I've got a couple of script files here that we're going to have a look at. The first one, you can see it adds a registry key. In fact, it adds the key and then there's a value in there as an application identifier for Hyper-V. And this is used to register the Hyper-V VSS writer with Windows Server Backup. And there's another one here which queries the registry just to see if that's in place. So what we're doing here basically is allowing Windows Server Backup to integrate with the volume shadowed copy service. So if I just run the second one that I showed you first of all, and we'll just check and see if that key exists. And there we go. Specified registry key or value is not there. We'll just run the first script here and we'll add that key and value. Completed successfully. And we'll run the check one more time just to confirm. Now this is all described in the Microsoft knowledge base. There's even a fix-it to do that automatically for us. And that's obviously where we get the rather long GUID from that's used in that key. Now the other thing I could do is I could use the VSS admin command to list all the available VSS writers. So we'll just wait for this to come back. It just takes a few moments to perform the query. And there we go, there's a list of writers, and if I scroll up to the top, Microsoft Hyper-V VSS writer, and we can see the writer ID and instance ID there. We'll just highlight these, make it a bit clearer. Now the other thing we need to do is make sure that the virtual machines themselves are ready to integrate with VSS. So if we just go into Server Manager here and drill down through roles to Hyper-V, go into Hyper-V Manager and look at my host. If I have a look at the settings on one of those virtual machines, and under Integration Services we see Backup (Volume Snapshot). And that's the integration that we need in order for the VSS writer to integrate with that Hyper-V virtual machine. And that integration basically ensures that the virtual machine is consistent when a backup is taken. So having done all the setup now, we can move on to taking a backup. I'm going to start Windows Server Backup here. Whilst that starts, I'll just mention that we don't have the support for backing up Hyper-V at the virtual machine level. We're still restricted to backing up at a volume level here. That's one major difference between Windows Server Backup and System Center Data Protection Manager. So as we click through the backup wizard, I'm selecting 2 drives here. You need to select every drive as part of the backup set that contains virtual machine data. For instance, hard disks and configuration might be on different volumes. Let's select a target here. It just happens to be another disk on the same machine. Remember, this is a demonstration box. You might well back up to disk and then on to tape perhaps somewhere else, or be backing up to another host. There's some VSS options, and then finally we'll click backup. So what this does is it creates a shadow copy of the volumes first of all. It's effectively snapshotting them, and this is where the VSS writer is integrated with Hyper-V to actually make sure that the machines are consistent. Then it moves on to taking the backup, which actually took about 2 hours when I recorded this. So we'll skip forward and see that the backup completes. So this backup's nearly completed. We're just waiting here whilst it tidies up at the end. And there we go, there's our complete backup using Windows Server Backup to back up our Hyper-V host. Now, of course, backup's only one half of the solution, so we need to consider recovery as well. And I'm going to just have a look here at what we've actually written in this backup. So I'm going to use some command line tools. WBadmin is one of the tools that was installed when I selected the Windows Server Backup feature. And we can see here that we've got a backup of our fixed disk labelled L, and we can see the version identifier and the items that we can recover there. Now if I use WBadmin again, and this time I say get items, and use that version identifier, we should get a list of all the items that are included in that particular backup. And now there's a list of components there with GUIDs which don't look particularly friendly. We can see that they belong to the Hyper-V application, and then they're just components and GUIDs. To try and put a bit more context around that, I'm going to use some PowerShell here just to perform a WMI query, and there are various ways here to do this. But this is a method I find reasonably straightforward. So we're going to get WMI object on the namespace for root / virtualization. And we'll query that looking for everything. So select star from the MSVM underscore computer system class, and we'll tidy that up a bit by piping it into a table, and we'll just take 2 properties here, which will be the name and the element name. And what we can see here is how those GUIDs relate to the friendly names for the virtual machines. So if I select one there in the PowerShell window and another one in the command prompt window, let's just mark that, make it a little easier to see. We can see that they match up. So it's not especially friendly, but at least we can see that we have backed up that virtual machine. So let's have a look at some recovery here. Again, we could use the command line tools like wv-admin, but if we go back to the GUI, so this is the way that most people work with Windows Server Backup. And just waiting for it to find details of the backups. So we go to recover. We're going to recover this server. And we pick date and time, a recovery point. And we're going to select applications. And this is important if we're restoring the Hyper-V machine. So there we go, there's the Hyper-V application. And we can view details there and see those application components. Now, unfortunately, I can't select an individual VM. That just looked like I did there. We can only restore at the volume level. Now, you can read more details of this on Taylor Brown's blog, and there's actually a really good post on the Ask Core blog about enabling Windows Server Backup support for the Hyper-V VSS writer. So in this video we've taken a look at using Windows Server Backup to back up a Hyper-V machine. I hope you found this useful, and thank you very much for watching.